Look around this room. Take a moment. Look at the person to your left. Look at the person to your right. Now look at yourself. What do you see? Do you see free individuals? Do you see sovereign souls charting their own destinies? Or do you see a room full of people waiting for a nod, a clap, a gold star, a verification badge from a world that has no idea what you are actually worth? We have a sickness. It is a pandemic far more devastating than any virus. It is the plague of approval. And the most tragic part is that we asked for it. We injected ourselves with this poison drop by drop, starting from the moment we could understand language. Good boy, nice job. That's not how we do it. What will the neighbors think? Over time, the voices of the world move from being outside our heads to taking up permanent residence inside our souls. We built a throne in our chest for the court of public opinion, and we handed them the scepter. We are living in an era of the greatest performance anxiety in human history. We are not living our lives. We are auditioning for them. And I am here tonight to tell you, the audition is over. The jury has been dismissed. The scorecards are on fire. Stop seeking approval and start living your calling. Let us first acknowledge the trap. The approval addiction is a cunning enemy. It doesn't look like a villain. It looks like a parent holding a diploma. It looks like a boss offering a promotion. It looks like 100 likes on a carefully filtered photograph. It promises safety. It whispers, do this and you will be loved. But the fine print is murder. The fine print says, do this and you will disappear. When you seek approval, you trade your birthright for a bowl of soup. Your birthright is your unique frequency, your specific genius, the thing that only you can bring to this spinning planet. The bowl of soup is temporary acceptance. And here is the brutal truth. You will never get enough approval to feel full. It is a bottomless pit. Why? Because the world is a fickle lover. One day they build you a statue. The next day they want to tear it down. If you build your identity on the shifting sands of other people's opinions, you will live your entire life in a state of seismic instability. You will change your clothes, your voice, your dreams, and your face to fit the latest weather pattern of social expectation. I look at the history of humanity and I see a graveyard of buried callings. I see the artist who became an accountant because art doesn't pay the bills. I see the healer who became a bureaucrat because medicine is too competitive. I see the entrepreneur who stayed in the cubicle because it's a stable job. We are surrounded by ghosts, not ghosts of the dead, but ghosts of the unlived lives. These are the people who are breathing but not alive. They are walking, commuting, consuming, and sleeping, but they have abandoned their post. They have abandoned the unique mission that the universe encoded in their DNA. And why? Because of a few uncomfortable moments of judgment. Let's be honest about what we are afraid of. We aren't afraid of failure. That's a lie we tell ourselves. Failure is actually quite freeing. Once you hit rock bottom, there's no place to go but up. No, the thing we are truly terrified of is rejection. We are terrified of being seen trying and missing the mark. We are terrified of being laughed at. We are terrified of standing up in a crowded room and saying, this is what I came here to do, only to have the room go silent. But I need you to understand something vital. The silence of judgment is temporary. The regret of not trying is eternal. When you are 80 years old, sitting on a porch, you will not remember the time you looked foolish at a party. You will remember the path you didn't take. You will feel the phantom limb of the life you refused to live because you were waiting for a permission slip from a world that doesn't have the authority to grant it. Stop waiting for a sign. Stop waiting for a committee to validate your existence. We have confused calling with career. A career is a job. It is a transaction. You sell your time for money. You can seek approval for a career because it is about metrics, sales numbers, quarterly reviews, corner offices. But a calling is different. A calling is the magnetic pull of your deepest nature. It is the thing that makes you forget to eat. It is the conversation you have in the shower. It is the problem you feel an obsessive compulsion to solve. Your calling does not need a resume. Your calling does not need a vote. Your calling needs your courage. Think about the Wright brothers. When they said they were going to build a flying machine, the world, the approval board, said they were crazy. Scientists published papers proving it was impossible. Their friends thought they were wasting their lives on a bicycle shop fantasy. If Orville and Wilbur Wright had waited for a round of applause, they would have died on the ground. They didn't fly because the world believed in them. They flew because they believed in the physics of their own vision. Think about every innovator, every prophet, every true genius. They are not the ones who followed the map. They are the ones who burned the map and drew a new one with their own blood. They are the no's that history eventually turned into yeses. Van Gogh sold one painting in his entire life. One. He was considered a madman and a failure. He sought no approval. He was obsessed with capturing the light. Now, his paintings hang in every major museum on earth, and we call him a master. He didn't live to see the approval. He lived to see the canvas. He lived his calling, and the approval, though it came late, was just an echo of his courage. Why do you need the approval to come first? Why do you need the paycheck to validate the poetry? Why do you need the Instagram likes to validate the hike? You have inverted the equation. The approval is not the fuel. The approval is the exhaust. The calling is the engine. Now, I can hear the objections. I can feel the anxiety rising in the back of the room. That's easy for you to say. You think, I have bills, I have children, I have a mortgage, I have parents who expect me to be a doctor, not a dancer. I hear you. I respect you. I am not telling you to be irresponsible. I am not telling you to burn your house down tonight and run naked into the woods. Living your calling is not synonymous with quitting your job. It is synonymous with quitting your excuses. Living your calling is a posture. It is a mindset that you bring into the cubicle. It is the 5 hours before work and the 3 hours after the kids go to sleep. It is the whispered prayer, the sketch blueprint, the written page. You do not need permission to be who you are. You need discipline. Here is the hard truth that the self-help industry doesn't tell you. Living your calling is lonely. When you stop seeking approval, you will lose people. You will lose the friends who only liked you because you agreed with them. You will lose the family members who mistake safety for happiness. You will make your mother cry because you turned down the law school acceptance letter to open a bakery. That moment, the moment of disappointing someone you love, is the price of admission to the arena of your own life. It hurts. It hurts like a knife. But I need you to know that their disappointment is not your failure. Their fear is not your truth. You are not responsible for managing the emotions of the adults around you regarding the direction of your soul. If you live your mother's dream, you will resent her for the rest of her life. If you live your own dream, she might be angry for a year, but she will eventually respect your grit. And if she doesn't, that is her journey. You cannot carry her expectations and your destiny. The weight will break your back. We have been raised on a diet of fairy tales that say if you follow your bliss, the money will follow. That is a beautiful sentiment, but it is not always true. Sometimes following your calling is hard. Sometimes it pays less. Sometimes it requires you to eat ramen noodles while your friends drive Teslas. But let me ask you a question. Is comfort worth your soul? Is a Tesla worth the ghost that lives in the passenger seat whispering, you could have been great? There is a profound difference between a living and a life. A living is how you pay the rent. A life is why you are here. We have become a society obsessed with the living and utterly bankrupt of the life. We chase promotions so we can buy bigger houses, so we can fill them with things we don't need to impress people we don't like. That is the definition of seeking approval. That is the rat race. And you know what happens to the rat that wins the race? He is still a rat. To stop seeking approval, you must kill a monster. The monster is your ego, not the ego of arrogance, but the ego of identity. Your ego wants to be safe. Your ego wants to be respected. Your ego says, don't post that song you wrote. They might say it's terrible. Your ego says, don't start that business. You might go bankrupt. Your ego is a protective parent, but it is a terrible leader. You have to tell your ego, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I am going to be dangerous now. I am going to be dangerous to the status quo. I am going to be dangerous to mediocrity. How do you actually do this? How do you rewire the circuitry of a lifetime of people pleasing? You start small. You start with a no. The most powerful word in the English language for the approval seeker is not yes, it is no. No, I will not work late on my birthday. No, I will not pretend to like that movie. No, I will not change my opinion to match the crowd. Every time you say no to the world, you are saying yes to yourself. It is a muscle. You have to flex it until it is strong enough to hold the weight of your destiny. You have to decouple your worth from your output. The approval seeker says, if I produce this thing and they don't like it, I am worthless. The person living their calling says, I produced this thing because I had to. What you think about it is a weather pattern. I am the climate. I remain. You have to embrace the concept of the sacred fool. The sacred fool is the person who dances even though they have two left feet. The sacred fool sings even though they are off key. The sacred fool tries, fails, gets up, tries again, looks ridiculous, and does not care. Why? Because the sacred fool knows that the judgment of the audience is a prison, and they have chosen freedom. Look at children. Before the world got to them, they were all sacred fools. They drew purple cows. They sang at the top of their lungs. They built castles out of cardboard. They didn't ask, do you like my castle? They said, look at my castle. And if you said it was ugly, they would say, no, it's not, and keep playing. Somewhere along the way, we beat that out of them. We beat it out of you. It is time to take it back. I want to talk about the concept of failure specifically. If you are seeking approval, failure is a disaster. It is a mark of shame. But if you are living your calling, failure is data. Thomas Edison didn't fail 10,000 times to make a light bulb. He successfully found 10,000 ways that didn't work. That is the mindset shift. When you stop caring about approval, you stop fearing failure. And when you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. You will try things that nobody has ever tried before. You will knock on doors that have been slammed shut for decades. You will speak truths that are uncomfortable. You will become a force of nature. And here is the cosmic joke. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment people start approving of you. Nothing is more attractive than authenticity. Nothing is more magnetic than someone who is fully alive. The world is starving for realness. We are drowning in curated perfection, filtered bodies, and scripted speeches. When you walk into a room and you are just you, without apology, without a mask, people will feel it. They will be drawn to it like moths to a flame. Why? Because you give them permission. By living your calling, you give the person next to you permission to live theirs. You become a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't run around the island begging ships to see the light. It just stands there, burning brightly, and the ships find their way. Be the lighthouse. I want you to do a visualization with me for a moment. Close your eyes if you are comfortable. I want you to imagine your funeral. I know it's morbid, but stay with me. The room is full of people. The eulogies are being read. What do you want them to say? Do you want them to say, he was a great manager of spreadsheets? Do you want them to say, she never made any waves? Do you want them to say, he always wore the right clothes? No. You want them to say, she changed my life. You want them to say, he loved fiercely. You want them to say, she took a risk that nobody understood and it mattered. You cannot get that eulogy by seeking approval. You can only get it by bleeding your calling into every moment you have left. Open your eyes. Look at your hands. Those hands are the tools of your calling. They are not meant to be folded in your lap, waiting for a compliment. They are meant to be callous, dirty, and scarred from the work of building a life that means something. Time is the only non-renewable resource. You cannot buy it, you cannot borrow it, you cannot stop it. Every second you spend scrolling through social media, comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel is a second you stole from your calling. Every minute you spend rehearsing what you will say to please your boss, your spouse, or your friends is a minute you rob from your legacy. I am not asking you to be perfect. I am asking you to be present. I am asking you to be brave. I am asking you to be loud. I am asking you to stop dimming your light so that others can feel comfortable in the dark. The world has enough followers. The world has enough people who raise their hands for permission to use the restroom of their own existence. The world is starving for leaders. Not leaders who tell others what to do, but leaders who live so authentically that they inspire others to live authentically. Start tonight, not tomorrow, not Monday, not January 1st. Tonight, when you go home, look in the mirror. Ask that reflection one question. What would I do right now if I knew nobody would judge me? And then do the first step, just one step. Send the email, write the sentence, buy the paint, book the flight. The approval you are waiting for is never coming from the outside. It is already sitting inside you, waiting to be unleashed. You are the one you have been waiting for. So stop asking for permission. Stop apologizing for your existence. Stop shrinking to fit spaces that were never meant to hold your light. Stand up. Not because I told you to. Stand up because your ancestors are cheering you on from the dirt. Stand up because your future self is begging you not to waste another day. Stand up because the only tragedy in life is not death. The only tragedy is living a life that was never yours to live. Leave the jury behind. Burn the scorecard. Walk out of the courtroom of public opinion. Go live your calling.